Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world right now, whether you're watching with us live on Facebook, live on Zoom, or you're watching this recording in the future. I want to officially welcome you to Coffee with a Mega. Little bit of context on where you are right now. My name's Patrick Madigan, and I'm affiliated with Keller Williams Realty, largest real estate franchise in the world by the number of agents and the amount we sell. And we have a division of our company dedicated to developing the next generation of leaders called Keller Williams Young Professionals. That network is made up of local chapters all around the country and in Canada. And I'm the president here of our chapter in the Triangle area of North Carolina, which is the Raleigh-Durham capital area of North Carolina. Once a month, we host these interviews with inspiring people from around the country who are living big businesses and even bigger lives. Today, we have the special privilege of being with Andrew Pepper out of Sarasota, Florida. We're going to hear his story about how he built his business, how he invests in real estate himself, and how he's living a big life and all the charitable stuff that he does. So Andrew's a friend of mine. I'm very inspired by him. I cannot wait for everyone on this call or watching this video to hear about Andrew's story. And lastly, if you don't know about Keller Williams Young Professionals and you're curious, I encourage you to go to kyp.org. Super simple, kyp.org. See if there's a chapter near you. And if there's not, I encourage you to think about starting a chapter. It is one of the best things you can do for your business. Being in this network of KWYP has changed my life and my business and my family legacy for generations to come, for people being friends with people like Andrew. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Andrew, how are you today?
Great, brother. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to this.
Excited to have you, man. I've been looking forward to this interview for a few months now. So we're going to jump right into it. Tell us how you got into real estate and what you were doing right before that.
Sure. So actually started out as a part-time agent. I got my license with the 100% intent of leaving everything I knew for 14 years. I was in aerospace, started out in the military, and then went and worked with the Boeing company for just shy of 10 years. And so a year prior to this going down, they did a huge layoff with pretty much everybody that was experienced. So they had levels 1 through 5 in the quality engineering space that I was in, and they laid off pretty much all the 5s, a good chunk of the 4s, and they were going after the high paid 3s. And I happened to be a high paid 3 up for level 4, and so I kind of saw the writing on the wall and got into real estate school. And almost a year to the day later, got a 60-day notice. And the rest is history. Then I jumped into real estate. So
wow,
the intent was to switch, and they just went ahead and kind of helped me get there.
Wow. So I've got a few questions in there, but I love that you were in one of the most predictable, stable industries in the world, which is the United States government, where as long as you're willing to stay in there, you have a job path ahead of you. And then you got into it sounds like the engineering contracting type world, right? Aerospace outside of the military. And that can also be a predictable, very high. You've got a lot of jobs. There's a lot of growth in that sector. And so even that wasn't stable for you. So a lot of people who may be scared of real estate because it seems unstable have this illusion that their W-2 job is stability. And yet you saw that that wasn't going to be the case for the near future.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, it was a lid, right? So it's one of those professions, like most professions, that you kind of get paid what they think you're worth, and you don't get paid what you're worth. So unless you're in a position that is commission based, where you earn what you're worth, you kind of hit a lid, or you get that 3 to 5, maybe 5% raise every year with a bonus, and you kind of know that that's what you're going to get next year, unless you do something different. So I could have stayed with Boeing. I just couldn't stay where I was with Boeing. So it's kind of like, hey, you can stay in you cannot stay in Dallas, Fort Worth. You can go back to St. Louis, where you came from, lateral. You can go to Denver, Colorado, or you can go to Philly. And I told my wife, and she said, absolutely not. Those are all too cold. And so we're either staying in Texas or we're moving to Florida to be with family. So we both quit our jobs. I say quit because fast forward a little bit. That was I got my license December of 14, June of 16. I went full-time real estate in Texas and really got things rolling to where I was making as much or more as what I was making in Boeing by May of 17, so in less than a year. And we decided to quit our jobs and leave everything we knew in Texas and move to Florida and start over. So
Wow.
about the time, anybody that's new to real estate knows how hard or challenging it can be to get rolling. But imagine getting it rolling and then quitting and moving to another state and starting at zero, knowing no one. So
Yeah.
done it.
Wow. So how real estate, you're at Boeing and you're thinking about, okay, I need to plan ahead, have an exit strategy. Did you know a realtor? Do you have a relative or a good friend who you wanted to be like, or who recruited you into the industry?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. My grandparents had a brokerage in Missouri, and they did it for, I don't even know, 53 years maybe. And when I got out of the military, my granddad said, "Hey, move home, work with us, and then when we're ready to retire, take over the brokerage." And anybody that knows me knows I'm super hard-headed. And I said, "Granddad, you know that word nepotism?" He's like, "Son, don't be so stupid." And I was like, "I don't want any part of it. I'm gonna go do aerospace. I love flying. I'm gonna fly." I had all intent of getting my degree. This is backing up a little bit prior to that, but just a little fun as far as challenges in life. I had all intent of getting out of the military, getting my degree, and going back into the military and flying jets.
Wow.
And March of '09, I was on vacation, best vacation of my life, and was downhill racing, snow skiing, and wiped out and broke the C5 in my neck, L5 in my back, destroyed this shoulder, broke my collarbone. So like that, your life went from perfect to what's next. So that's kind of what
Wow.
pushed me into aerospace. And I think you either overcome or you become a victim. And my entire life, I've just found a way to overcome and keep going. So I think that's the key, right? Never give up.
Never give up. Yeah, we were talking about that before the call. I think you might be a little too tall for the cockpit anyway. So I maybe that dream was dashed for you in advance by your genetics. Tell me, let's go a little bit further back. I've seen on some of your marketing before, often in these real estate groups, we will market ourselves like, "Hey, who do you know that's an agent in Sarasota?" And, I'll see Andrew Pepper comment. And often we have these little bullet points, right? And one of yours for a while was that you were an Eagle Scout, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me what this background, you Eagle Scout, the military, working for Boeing, aerospace engineering, all this whole industry. How does that inform who you are today?
Man, I think I was always pushed. I was super fortunate enough to have a stepdad that I call dad. He's been my dad since I was 8. Anytime I came home from school and had a report card or whatever, he said, "Is that your best?" And if the answer was no, then I was grounded. If the answer was yes, then that's okay. So I think from a very young age, I was pushed to do whatever my best was. It doesn't mean you have to be the best. It just means you have to be your best. And so that seed was kind of planted from schoolwork to picking up the sticks in the yard, kind of almost programmed from a young age to do your best at whatever you do. From anything from athletics, I was fortunate enough to go compete at the state level in track, and love baseball, love sports, love photography. Actually had a good little side hobby in photography where I've been fortunate enough to shoot a lot of professional sports, professional singers, pro rodeo, had a magazine cover published. I just have fun, whatever I'm doing. And I think that's the key, is find something you love where you can, help people and serve people and just love on people and give back. And that's one thing that the scouting instilled with me, was just community and loving people and serving people. And it's always been about excellence. So when I joined the military, my grandfather said, "Shut up and do what you're told." And I went to basic training and graduated at the top of my division. And I think sometimes it's best if we just shut up and do what we're told. So find somebody that's way better than you, that can coach you and mentor you, that's going to be honest with you and transparent. I'm not going to say everybody can be coached like it's boot camp or basic training. But sometimes we need to hear the truth, right? And I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of people in my life tell me the truth and tell me when I'm falling short or when I'm not doing my best. And I think you want to constantly surround yourself with people that are way better than you. And fortunately for me, it's really easy for me to be in a room with a lot of people better than me. So I've surrounded myself with people like John Maxwell and Diana Kokoska and you name it. I mean, the coaches that I've been with are endless. My coach right now, Greg Erlanger, is the #1 team in all of Ohio. Learned a lot from Jeff Lovert, obviously, and his team, #1 team in Michigan. So find the best and figure out what they're doing, and then go implement the part of it that fits you, right? Don't be them, just be you. So
I love that. So many nuggets in there that we could latch onto. Before we get further, I want to give everyone a glimpse of where you are now. Give us a snapshot of what your business currently looks like, maybe your team structure, also like about how much business you're doing year to date or last year, however you want to approach those numbers.
Sure. Thank you. So personally, trailing 12 months is around 26 million in volume. We just effectively doubled that moving forward, brought on a stud agent that sold about 40 homes in the last 12 months. That's now our team's director of sales. And also have another agent that is really coming into her own that she'll, I guess, sell 24 plus homes in the next 12 months. And then we have one more gentleman that August 1st has completed ISA training that will be a full-time agent August 1st. And I expect him to sell every bit of 40 plus homes. So in 12 months, when we talk, we'll probably have 4 agents that are serving somewhere around 150 plus families a year.
Wow.
Which going from 26 deals in my first 10 months back in 2019 is pretty good growth in 4 years.
I mean, 26 deals in a year is what often many solo agents aspire to. So what has changed with you personally? It's one thing to sell a house. It's another thing to be a leader of a company that answers to you. And I struggle with this personally. What is it like to shift from being the sales agent to being the leadership developer, manager, team leader? Tell us about that mindset and that struggle and any growing pains you've gone through.
I think it's the toughest thing you can do. I think it's the toughest position that anyone can put themselves in. Most people can't lead themselves. And I think leading yourself is the toughest thing you can do, which is why you need a coach and a mentor, and either on a team or be in a great office as incredible culture that's going to hold you accountable. I will say that I'll never say that I've had more challenges in life than anyone else that's on this call or that's watching this, but I will 100% say that life is going to throw you a lot of freaking challenges. And for some of us, it's a lot harder than others. And without my faith, I 100%, I wouldn't even be on this call. I don't know how people do it without faith personally, but my faith is #1. And then the leaders that obviously happen to be believers like John Maxwell and Mo Anderson have been instrumental in my growth and in my, just striving to become better every day, just a little better every day, learn something a little better every day. It's initiative, right? 1, take initiative to grow yourself, and 2, take initiative to grow someone else or pull someone else up or pour into somebody else that's struggling, or, whatever you've been through, probably been through. My parents were divorced. I've personally been through divorce. I've been through, I'm a huge animal lover. Right now we have 37 animals. One of the Gloverisms that Jeff talks about is flip the switch at the door. Flip the switch at the door is, no matter what you're struggling with at home, that when you get to work, it's work time, and vice versa. No matter what you're struggling with at work, when you go home, it's home time. So I think just being around people that believe in you and being around people that pour into you, that are better leaders than you, to learn from them so you can go pour into someone else and help them lead their life at a better level.
Man, again, you are answering many questions that I have on my list just with all the wisdom you're imparting on us right now. I love what you say about faith, because regardless of what faith you ascribe to, it really relies on this idea that you're dependent on something else. And there's this humility involved, regardless of which faith you may have, that I can't do it all myself. And I often find that those are the best leaders. They're not the ones that say, I am the best, so follow me. They're the ones that say, hey, I'm leading myself. Just like you said, I'm following something. And if you want to follow with me, let's go. We'll do it together, regardless of what that may be. And so was there Was there a breaking point early on when you realized, man, I can't do this as a solo agent. I have to hire leverage. Was there some sort of growing pain there that inspired you to go down this leadership path rather than just staying as an individual agent?
So first and foremost, I was probably only 3 months into the business, and like most people, you probably need 3 to 6 months if you're a single agent and trying to wing it on your own, to even maybe get rolling. So I was about 3 months into the business, and I went to my TL at the time in Texas and said, "Hey, you have a minute to talk?" And she said, "No, I don't." And she read my face, right? And or my tone or both. And she was like, "Is everything okay?" And I said, "No." And she got on her phone and she said, "Hey, can you reschedule my next meeting?" And she said, "Get in here." And she brought me in her office and she put together, first she asked me a few questions, right? To figure out what was going on, what I needed, why I was thinking about getting out of real estate. Took me back to the why, right? Why did you get into real estate in the first place? And why are you thinking about leaving now? And the only reason I was thinking about leaving was because I had done real estate for 90 days and it wasn't working. Well, there's a little book called 3 Feet from Gold. And ironically, I was 3 feet from gold and about to give up on myself. And luckily she gave me a game plan and asked me for a 30-day commitment. And 3 weeks later, I sold my first house and the rest is history. So a 15-minute conversation of asking why is the only reason I'm here on this call right now. Ask me that question again. I feel like I got off track on that answer.
Yeah, just was there an early breaking point or a struggle where you realized you needed to begin to succeed through others rather than just succeeding through your own efforts? So that jumping point to become a leader rather than just a sales agent.
Yeah. So first, she kept me in the game and showed me what a leader looked like, right? And she said, "God and family first," the day that I walked into that office, which was very appealing to me. And then she exemplified and showed exactly what God and family first looked like when she stepped down from the number 2 market center in the world to go spend time with her father, who was ill. Now, ironically, 3 years later, we got the opportunity to step down from our positions in Texas. We didn't talk about this earlier, but moved back here. My wife's grandmother, who is and was at that time and still is the world to her, was struggling with some heart conditions. And 3 weeks after we moved here, we found out she was diagnosed with cancer. And she survived that and in remission and doing great. But I just think it's super powerful who you follow and who you learn from and what priorities you set in your life that are important to you, because it's real easy to get caught up in the grind and only focus on work and neglect whatever used to be important to you or whatever is more important to you, i.e. God, family, your hobbies, anything other than work, right? Because there's going to come a day that either you diagnosis that you or you get something that shakes your world that's just challenging, and you need people there to support you in that. Now, succeed through others. Why did I decide to go do a team more than anything? There's a creepy thing called a KPA. That's just a personality assessment that kind of rack and stacks you with what your DNA is good for and what charges your battery and what makes you happy. For me, that's director of expansion and director of sales. Well, we have an incredible director of sales, and his number 1 fit is director of sales. So he's our director of sales, and I need to be our director of growth. I knew this 6 years ago, right? Or 5 years ago. Now it's all coming to fruition. So part of it is just trusting the journey and becoming a better version of you and who those around you are going to need. And how did I do that? I just put myself around people that were already doing it. The Jeff Glovers, the Bob Lucidos, the Greg Erlangers, the Diana Kokoskas, the John Maxwells. And you may not physically be able to be in the room with them, but all of those books on that top shelf, including this book right here on my desk, is John Maxwell. He is the best human being living today that I'm aware of in terms of leadership. So if you're going to lead your life and help lead other people's lives, learn from the guy that does it best. Now, John is really good at just teaching leadership principles, and he teaches them to presidents of nations and CEOs of companies all around the world. And he was at a conference, and a lot of the CEOs were like, where do you get this stuff? Like, this is unreal. And the crazy thing is, every single thing that he teaches on leadership is out of his faith book, out of the Bible. And he didn't want to tell them that because he didn't want to offend them. He just wanted them to grow and to be the best version of themselves. But he said, you tell me one leadership lesson and I'll show you where it is in the Bible. So John Maxwell is great, but he's not as great as his leader, right? Who's my leader. So I, every day, do my very best. I'm human, so I know that I miss days, but every day I do my best to spend time in the word of my faith to learn what it looks like to be the greatest leader in the world. What made him the greatest leader in the world? He loved everyone, no matter what. And he loved them where they were, for who they were, and just saw the best in them. So he didn't do it with a false eye. He didn't do it, it was just him. He was just love. Yeah. So I think regardless of if religion is offensive to you, fine, that's okay. But loving yourself and loving other people should never be offensive to anybody. And I think that's the greatest lesson we can learn, is how patient and how kind and how powerful love is. So I want to be around people that think like me, that are lovers and servants and leaders. And between John and a guy named Craig Rochelle, those are probably my two go-tos in the leadership world right now, as far as learning from people that are alive today.
Yeah. And, again, regardless of where people stand on religion, I think the leadership lesson is applicable there, because I asked you how you became a leader, essentially, and it came from you just being completely immersed in the leaders that you want to follow. So no matter who it is, it could be someone's following you as a realtor that they admire. I know, for example, 2 months ago on the same interview, I got to interview Ken Posick out of Orlando, Florida, not far from you. And then a few weeks later, I saw on Facebook that John Maxwell spoke right before Ken spoke at the same event. So he was joking that John Maxwell opened for him, which I thought was great. And it's just been fascinating to watch someone like Ken's journey. Ken, who gifted me this book here, Tribe of Mentors, and which is just a distillation of leadership principles. And so no matter where you want to be in life, do what Andrew Pepper does. Put the books on your shelf, attend the conferences, get around those people, and even all the way down to your friend group, because we've all probably heard that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so wherever you want to be, get with those people. And that's what KWYP has done for my business. And more importantly, my life, is it's helped me become a new version of me that I've wanted to be, because the people I get to surround myself with, like Andrew. So thanks, man. Andrew, let's get into the nitty gritty. You got your license. You said it sounded like 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. You've moved, you've restarted, you've started over. How do you restart, and where does the majority of your business come from? Like, what is your lead generation when you're brand new in Florida and you're trying to carve out a business? How do you find clients? How do you build what your business is now?
Yeah. So when I moved here, I basically knew pretty much no one. So the easiest way for me to build a business was a ton of open houses. So I started out with the best open house I knew how to do, and just continued to get better. So I went and found people that were doing level 5, 6, 7 open houses and having great return on investment on their time while they're at the open house, right? It's one thing to go set an open house and have 1 to 5 people come through and maybe get one of them. It's way better to go to an open house and have 40, 50 plus people come through and get several of them. So if you're going to spend the extra time door knocking, spend the extra time circle prospecting, spend the extra time handing out flyers, spend the extra time with the social media post. I would rather do 1 incredible open house a month than do 4, just show up and throw a couple signs around, open houses in a month. So, as painful as it is to put out 30 signs for an open house, it's even more painful to go set an open house for 3 hours and have nobody show up. So I think if you're going to do open houses, do excellent open houses. If you're going to, cold call FSBOs and expireds, then talk to somebody that does that at a high level and learn from them. And then go do that. If you're going to door knock, then figure out who the best door knocker in your area, or in some area NYP is, and figure out what they're doing and ask them to help you implement that. So I think the key is, not doing 50 things. So the first year, pretty much all I did was open houses and became really good at them.
You know what's great? I'm picturing you. This isn't what happened, but I'm picturing the lesson learned, like you thinking, well, what if I go to this open house and I sat there for 3 hours and one person showed up, and then I went home and talked to my dad? What would he ask me? He would say, was that your best? And then you knew in advance, because you've learned and internalized this. Okay, I'm going to do an open house. How do I do my best? And you mentioned a few strategies that I want to dig into. You door knocked, and door knocking is essentially inviting the neighbors to check out the open house, right? Now, why would you, Andrew, invite a neighbor to your open house? Give us that mindset.
I mean, the cool thing is, one, you get to know them and you're adding a relationship to your phone, to your database, to know them. The other cool thing is you get to offer them to pick their neighbor. And then even better than that is, in case they want to buy or sell another property, they might want to buy that for a family member or, in-law, or may have a friend that they want to be their neighbor, or that may be ready to sell. I can tell you, before I got really good at this, nothing makes you more disgusted than when you go to pick up a sold sign in one of your listings and the neighbor's house is listed for sale and the one across the street is listed for sale. That will teach you to door knock really fast. Someone's going to sell their home. It might as well be you. So
when we do open houses, we often know usually that is not going to be the reason the house sells. That's a small percentage, and yet it's still good. We obviously want to do that for our clients. Much more likely, you are auditioning for a potential buyer that may walk through the door. But what we forget is that we are also auditioning for the neighbors who are wandering in, not only to see the house or not only to check it out for a friend of theirs, maybe, but they're scoping out the agent to see if it's an agent that they may want to work with. And so you're door knocking your open houses to invite neighbors. You mentioned circle prospecting, and that's where you get a list of phone numbers from whatever source you may pay for, and you call around. Kind of, it's like phone door knocking in a sense to invite them. Or you're letting them know, hey, I just listed this, or hey, then you call a week later, I just sold this house. You also mentioned social media. Is there anything else that you do in addition to these? You mentioned putting out 30 signs. Would you really put out that many to advertise your open houses?
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And I think the biggest thing to know is when you're in that open house, everybody that walks through that door, or almost everybody that walks through that door, is either a buyer or seller that's interviewing you.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you realize that or not, and I will never say that I have all the secrets or I do everything perfectly. There's some people that swear on sign-in sheets and force people to sign in. And then there's crazy people like me that would rather have a conversation and build a relationship and me interview them and decide if I want to work with them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not the pushy salesperson. I'm not going to tell you this is the kitchen and this is the primary bedroom and this is the backyard. Like, if you can't see that for yourself, then you're probably not going to buy the house anyways. So what I do look for is a way that we can connect in some commonality conversation piece of where they're from or what they love to do or what attracted them in that neighborhood or what brought them in that day, and just have a conversation with them and get to know them. Mm-hmm. I can tell you early on, a good chunk of the clients that I grabbed from open houses were from having a real conversation, offering them my card as they walked out the door and asking them, please give me a call or shoot me a text if they have any questions, would like to make an offer, would like to see any of their homes in the area. And sometimes you would get a call a month later, and that person became one of my best friends that I sold their home and helped them buy the first luxury waterfront property that I sold in Florida. Did I get their name and phone number? No. The minute they walked out that door, did I wish I had got their name and phone number? Yes. I was sick to my stomach. I was like, man, I really like those people. I wish I would have, had the confidence and asked them for their name and number. The cool thing is they like me and they called me a month later. Now, I'm not going to say that's smart. I'm just going to say that happened. And
it worked.
At that point in the business, I was very personality based and very relationship based. And if people trusted me and liked me, they worked with me. So I think in the beginning, I think it was very, very organic. And then third quarter of 21 is whenever I decided that I would push myself out of my comfort zone and learn how to prospect expireds and FSBOs, and took 18 listings in 16 weeks and really
Wow.
flip my business from buyer heavy to listing heavy, which is pretty fun.
Wow.
Now I would say our business as a whole, as a team, is about 50-50. It might be a little, it might be like 55% listings, but it's been as high as 70% listings, which is pretty unreal.
Wow.
And you can serve more people in less time if you're seller heavy. But at the same time, when the market shifts, if nobody's selling, you might want some buyers in your pocket. So I think that's one of the big reasons you've seen our business swing back to like a 50-50 model, is because there's a ton of buyers where we are right now. Ironically, it's still a seller's market where we are. I don't know if it's the same where you guys live, but it's, inventory is still low. We have like 3.5 months of inventory. Prices are still increasing year over year. Are they down from where the peak was, from where that one outlier that somebody bid something crazy like 760 on a $600,000 home? Yeah, that's not there, but that was, one out of 1,000. But the market's still really strong here. The rental market is ridiculous. I feel sorry for anybody that's renting because they're paying an incredible amount of money, and two, they're not building any equity or any wealth for themselves. So I think that's a massive opportunity that we have, is to share with people how they build wealth and what their net worth looks like if they start buying a home versus if they keep renting. And that's one of the biggest things for our agents watching, is if you haven't bought your first home and you don't know where to start, please call me, because that's it's the best thing I've ever done in my life as far as wealth building, is investing. In 2018, we bought our first home. I'm a veteran, so I'm lucky I could buy my first home with 0 down, which is incredible. So if you're a veteran, great. If you're not a veteran, then if you qualify for that 3% or 5% down conventional loan, awesome. Go buy your first property with that. And if you can, buy a quadplex or a duplex, if you can stand living in one of those units, that we truly have 1 to 3 investment properties and your first residence. And then 2 years, 3 years down the road, go buy your dream home or your next home. So love wealth building, love investing in real estate. And just past our 4-year mark, we bought our 4th property, and my plan is to buy at least one a year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you touched on so many things. We went from your organic open houses into your systematic listings into your investing. So I want to get to the investing in just a little bit. And I want to remind everyone too, whether you're here on Zoom or live on Facebook, I see we've got some viewers on Facebook. I am keeping my eye on the chat. So feel free to leave any questions you have for Andrew. And if you want to raise your hand on Zoom, you can also come on camera if you'd like to ask him a question here. So thank you all for being here and for listening, giving Andrew and I a little audience to share his wisdom and his journey here. So Andrew, you mentioned that those first open houses were very personality driven. And I think so many of us as new realtors, that's really all we have to go on, is our knowledge, maybe our firm's track record, and then our personality and our work ethic, what we're going to do on behalf of the clients. So many of us really lean heavy on the personality. How have you shifted into being more systematic? Less, in Keller Williams, we call it that shift from E to P. I think I said less systematic. I meant more systematic. Of E to P, entrepreneurial, maybe disorganized, to purposeful and driven and systematic. What does E to P mean to you in your business and in your life?
I mean, it starts with the quality of service that you're providing the client, right? So that was what forced me to go from a single agent to building a team, was because I never wanted the quality of service or the experience of the client to suffer. So the very first thing I did was, I did it in reverse order. The very first thing I did was bring on an executive assistant. Tongue in cheek, obviously, if I could start over, I definitely would have started out with a transaction coordinator. So if you're not using a transaction coordinator, use one. Your time and their knowledge and their service and their experience to your client is going to be way better than what you can provide for them as a new agent. And it's going to free up your time to go enjoy either what you love doing or go serve more clients at a much higher level. So I hired an executive assistant, hired a transaction coordinator, leveraged out some marketing without accountability and oversight, and it failed miserably. It was very generic, very bland, very boring, not me at all. What you see on 90% of agents' Instagram and Facebook that it's all the same stuff everybody else is posting. So got rid of that. Then leveraged out some videos. So if you look at like the last 10 or 12 videos that have been posted and edited, I found a professional company to help me with that. And that's way better because you run out of time in your day. So learning that whole leads, listings, and leverage, right? The lead generation in the beginning was open houses. The lead generation the next year was open houses, previous clients, getting better at sphere of influence and people I already knew. And then started dabbling in marketing. Failed miserably with like a $7,000 listing with realtor.com. And it wasn't realtor.com's fault. It was this guy's fault. There are no bad leads. There are only bad agents and bad systems and bad follow-up. So I didn't reach out to them enough consistently, and or I wasn't saying the right things, or both. So we talk about scripts and it scares everybody. And it's not that you're a robot. It's that you're asking the right questions to figure out what they need and how you can help them. That's what a script is. It's the right questions. So you're saying the right things, so you know what they need and you can help them. That's all a script is. So if script scares you, quit saying that. Just figure out what great questions are and ask them enough, meaning to enough people to have enough business to fund an incredible life.
Andrew, isn't it so funny that new agents or inexperienced agents are so scared of what to say, and they're so scared to know how to not look new or inexperienced. And they say, well, what would you do, Andrew, when you were brand new? You make it look so easy. And then we give them a script and say, here, memorize this and use it. These are my exact words I would use. But for some reason, that concept of script practice seems so robotic and it seems so fake. And we say, well, that's literally what you asked for. You wanted to know what to say. Here it is. And then I think when we practice it, that's when we earn the right to change the script and to make it more of our own, right? Because if you don't know what it is yet and you haven't internalized it, how can you start, improving on something that is a bad foundation? Exactly. So I love that importance of the script. So that's fantastic. So keep going.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as a new agent, we're like, well, that's not me, or it doesn't sound like me. Yeah, it's not you. You're not a great salesperson yet. And you don't know what to say and you don't know what to ask, and that's okay. We all started at zero and none of us knew the right things to say. The cool thing is we have plenty of agents that sell 1,000 plus homes, or teams sell 1,000 plus homes a year, that have proven it, that know what to say, and they're willing to tell us so we can help people. So just start there until you're selling more than 1,000 homes a year and ask those simple questions and then go sell a lot of homes. I think the other huge thing out of the gate was a little red book called the MREA. And the biggest thing I can tell you I took from day one was mine right here, to trust the models, right? Trust the budget model. Pay yourself 30% of every check and save the rest for everything else. 10% for giving, 10% for marketing, 10% for hiring your first EA. We can go through it if you really want to offline. Reach out to me anytime. But if you pay yourself 30% of every check, one, it's going to give you plenty of time for that awesome tax bill you're going to get at the end of your year being commission only. And two, it's going to push you to sell more homes if you're not living off more than 30%. So it's going to teach you to invest. It's going to teach you to give. It's going to teach you to not teach you. It's going to allow you to give, right? Which to me, honestly, is way more fun than buying crap for myself. I love giving. I love helping people. And it's probably the greatest reward in life, is to be able to help somebody that can't help themselves.
Well, I think that's a perfect segue into your work down there in Florida with the recent hurricanes. Tell us about what that was like for you, and yeah, just dig into that for us.
Sure. So we were right on the edge of the eye. So basically from a little north of our house, south, was the eye.
And which hurricane was this? This is just last summer, right?
Ian. Yeah, it was September of 21.
Hurricane Ian. Oh, has it been 2 years already?
22, sorry.
22. Okay, I was going to say, I thought it was last year. Yeah.
Yeah, last year. Yeah, so we personally were without power for only 11 days. There's still people without power right now because they lost everything or very close to it. So we were super fortunate. We had a ton of damage, but we didn't lose everything. So the minute that the storm let up and we were in, 60-mile-an-hour winds and you could get outside sort of safely, the first thing I did was check our animals. The second thing I did was went and check on every single neighbor on our road, which, to put that kind of in perspective, is everybody on our road is on 5 acres or more. So they're not necessarily like, hey, walk next door and knock on the house. Tons of trees down on the road. You could not physically get outside of, you couldn't get to the main road the way you normally would. So I ended up grabbing a set of bolt cutters and cutting a padlock on the back lot, going through a field so one of our neighbors could get out and go check on her husband, because he ended up getting rushed to the emergency room during the storm. And we can share a link to the video of a bunch of other stories, but basically every single person on our road needed help. One of my neighbor's mothers was staying with her, and she has stage 4 cancer, and she was on oxygen, and their generator ran out of gas, so her oxygen machine wasn't working. So that was like priority number 1, was getting her gas and getting her generator and her oxygen rolling again. And another lady has a little girl with cerebral palsy. Another gentleman was going through a huge negotiation with work, and he had no power and no internet. And so we fired up our generator and fired up our satellite internet, and he won the largest deal for his company that they had ever been awarded. So it was just cool to be able to serve everybody right on our, it's only like 10 homes right on our street, but them immediately and as quickly as possible. And then YP showed up first, helping us at a very high level, bringing in vehicles and trailers full of supplies to help the local community. And for 15 days, that's what I did. I didn't sell real estate. I just went and loved on people and delivered hundreds of gallons of gasoline and food and water and supplies and checked on people. And if you've never been through something like this, phones didn't really work for about 7 days, so that's fun. The only time a phone really worked was if we were connected to internet and could do Wi-Fi calls or Wi-Fi messaging. So yeah, just went and helped people. And the crazy thing about the experience was probably about 6 or 7 days in, and I don't think I'd slept more than 2 or 3 hours a night. And your body's just running on adrenaline. And finally, I think on like day 11, I kind of hurt myself, and I was like, oh, I need to get some sleep. So I kind of forced myself to sleep. And I worked for like 3 or 4 more days. And then ironically, about day 16, power everywhere, most places, street lights were working again. And traffic was kind of flowing, and the power lines were picked up in most places, and you could kind of function. And buyers and sellers started to pop up again. I was like, all right, I need to get back to work. The cool thing about the whole experience was, I was like, man, if I could do this every day, just help people, like, how awesome would this be? The cool thing is, you can do this every day. It just looks a little different. So you can either go help people find a home, which is their largest investment ever, usually, and it's where they're going to spend the majority of their time, which is incredibly rewarding. And I think we take for granted how powerful that is. So sometimes just taking a deep breath and realizing what exactly we do. And then the other thing is, you do have, or you should have, or make time to either give your time, your sweat, or your finances, or all of the above, whatever that looks like to you. 1 day a week, 1 day a month, whatever you can figure out works for you, to give back to your community or give back to an organization that you're passionate about. Because you're going to have really tough days, and it's real easy to quit working so hard. It'd be way easier to sell 25 homes a year and live a comfortable life. There is nothing easy about helping another agent grow their business and having that weight of their family and their kids and them eating or them going to school or whatever, that pressure of serving other families on your team. and those families that they're serving as clients, it's way easier to be a single agent than to be a leader. I think a team leader, either in a team stance or in a team of an office or brokerage, is the toughest thing you can do. It's definitely not about the money. I can tell you that, because you make way more money selling the house yourself than having a teammate sell the home. So it's definitely a heart move. Being a leader is not about money at all. It's just about helping and serving people and helping them become a better version of themselves so they can go pour into others. So it's a multiplier, right? So it's a legacy.
Yeah.
So
and
what are you going to be known for, and who's going to miss you when you're gone?
Yeah. And actually that's what I want to talk about next as well too, is legacy. But I know that so many of us have found that when we give, it's not for the reasons of what we'll get in return, right? And yet we often do find that when we give selflessly, we do get that return. And so I know we've talked about you doing open houses and then you shifting into pursuing listings from a more systematic perspective of calling expired listings that didn't sell the first time, and then FSBOs, which just stands for for sale by owners. So someone who's trying to do it without an agent. And then now I'm sure you've gotten business through your charitable works. I mean, I know I can speak for many of us in YP who just saw you really blossom in an odd, which is an odd thing to say, through the disaster. Your gratitude, your light, your beacon that you shined through the YP community was such a touching thing for so many of us to watch vicariously through you. And I've seen you in a weird way, get business because people love you. They trust you now, and they want to send their referrals to you. So from those three things, we've talked about listings, open houses, and your charitable work. Is there anywhere else that you're building your business? Maybe now you're obviously bringing on more agents. Is there anything else that you're doing that other agents can implement in their markets to grow their businesses?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this year, the majority, I need to get a number for you and let you know exactly what the percentage is, but the majority of my business this year is agent to agent referral. There was a good run earlier this year that I feel like I was getting a referral every day or every other day, for 2 or 3 weeks straight. It was pretty crazy. And the biggest thing is just going to events or getting on Zooms and finding somebody that you can pour into and you can help them grow. And ironically, now I'm working on a training right now that I can, present to YP, present to market centers, present to teams on the journey that I'm on, the journey that I've been through, what I've learned. And a big key of that is the agent to agent referral, which I started 4 years ago, but it was just consistent a little bit every week, right? Over the last 4 years, and now it's exploding. And I'm 100% in agreement with you that a lot of it has to do with heart and charitable giving. I had the opportunity in 2020, I believe. I say this as humbly as possible. I was one of the top donors in our entire region for KW Cares. And I found out what KW Cares did. And I also, there's an organization, if you're not aware of it, this blue flag down here is an organization called Homes for Our Troops. We build homes for military vets that have lost their legs, their arms, they're paralyzed, they've lost their vision, and we build a home custom to their needs. So every home is truly custom. And I've been a part of that organization financially and physically, because they do little volunteer days. So there's 3 ways. It's not like Habitat for Humanity where you can actually build the home. They have licensed contractors build the homes, but they have a groundbreaking. They have a work day that helps lay sod and do the landscaping, and then they do a key ceremony. So look at HFOT, Homes for Our Troops, and see if they have a project going in your area, and just go check it out. Attend a work day and lay some sod or put some plants or trees in. Check out a key ceremony if you can, where you get to meet the veteran and see the family awarded their home, and they always have guest speakers. Ironically, I had the opportunity after our regional cultural summit in 2020 to go and be a speaker at one of the key ceremonies. And I got there and I was scared to death because I had never been comfortable speaking in front of a large crowd. And there were probably 350, 400 people there. And I get up there and it was like the CEO of Budget Blinds, an executive from Whirlpool, me, and then the vice president of Lockheed Martin. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like, what am I going to what am I going to say? And so the first two went, and then I went and I just shared from my heart why I was a part of the organization, what I loved about it, why I love giving to it, and what it meant to me, and what that veteran family meant to me, because I got to know them pretty well. And it ended in a standing ovation, and the Lockheed Martin VP getting up there and said, "I don't know how I follow that. That was incredible." And so I was like, wow, maybe I need to just be me and just share my story and share what I love. So that kind of planted a seed. And KW Cares tithes every year to 3 organizations. One of them's Homes for Our Troops. One is MD Anderson for cancer research and cancer patients. And the other is Ryan's Well, which we drill clean drinking water wells all over the world in austere environments. So if you don't have something that is local, or if you're looking for an incredible place to give money and give back, start with transactional giving. Give, $25 or $10 or $5, whatever you can give. Every home that you sell, give $25 or more, whatever you can afford, to KW Cares, and know that it's going not only to agent associates for when they have a crazy medical need or a natural disaster, and it's also going to those 3 organizations. So it's a really cool way to be a part of agents' lives that you'll never meet, that can never repay you, that are probably never going to meet you, and also be a huge impact to some families that are really struggling. So,
and while we're talking about KW Cares and your charitable giving, I cannot let you off this call without telling us about the amazing book that you purchased at the KW Cares auction. Is that it on the shelf behind you there?
that is it.
Yeah. Can you tell us about what that is?
Yes. So that is one of Mo Anderson's family's personal Bibles from the 1800s. And Mo has bookmarked all of her favorite Bible verses.
And this thing is like, it looks like it's something out of a monastery. It's like a huge brick, and it's got the gold foil pages on it. When I saw you carrying that thing around at family reunion this past year, I had to ask you what it was. And your purchase of that was donated to KW Cares. I had another question on that, but you feel free to keep. I was going to ask you, for anyone who doesn't know who Mo Anderson is, what can you say about a person such as Mo?
Man, I mean, she's honestly one of the most incredible humans to ever live. She's got a huge heart. They do call her the Velvet Hammer because she is all about integrity and doing the right thing. But she's honestly kind of the mother of Keller Williams, right? So
of
she
our
was
culture specifically, I would say.
Yeah, the mother of the culture and the mother of growth. She did it the right way with the right people, and she did it really fast. So she helped Gary take this organization from like 35 offices to 530 offices in 10 years. And I think those two are just a powerful leaders to grow our company the right way with the right people. And super honored to know her and get to know her at a very deep level. I got to serve 2022 on the KW Cares Grant Selection Committee, which reviews every single grant that comes in the organization. See, 1, if they qualify, and then 2, what they qualify for, and then approve or deny that grant, or approve, ask more questions, see if we can approve or deny it if they didn't qualify, because the IRS is very picky on what we're allowed to give to. So I got to serve at that capacity all of 2022. And then the beginning of this year, got selected to serve on the board of directors for KW Cares. So any KW Cares questions, if your local market leadership doesn't know the answers, please give me a call or look on their website. So
incredible. We've got about 5 more minutes of your time left, so I want to honor whatever commitments you have. We'll do a few rapid fire questions. And as a reminder, if anyone has a question for Andrew, please leave it in the chat or use your hand raise icon. So Andrew, you've already mentioned John Maxwell and your books of faith that you follow. Is there anything else that you read or podcasts that you listen to that inspire you or grow you?
Oh man. Yeah, you put me on the spot. I could have a list. If you want my list of the podcasts that I listen to, Patrick has my info, or you can, are you going to like,
we'll let you shout out your info at the end of the call here.
Yeah, I can do that.
Perfect.
Maxwell's huge. Do a lot of Maxwell, Craig Rochelle, For business, Glover U, and in the beginning, Maps Coaching, Gary's podcast.
Think Like a CEO.
Yeah, you kind of put me on the spot, but I definitely can give you a list.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll let people know how they can find you afterwards. I see Spencer Dahl's got a question.
Yes, sir.
Hey, first of all, just Patrick Pepper, thank you so much. This message has been so great to get a glimpse into you, Pepper, and your story. We've bonded through past conferences and keeping in touch, but I just appreciate you and so gratitude for you, Patrick, for having this conversation, and Pepper for being so just open. The question I have is, do you have like a budget as far as, I mean, I see you going to Glover U, going to Maxwell, these types of things. Like, how do you budget? For me, I read the MREA and say, like, let's lead with revenue, right? And red light, green light on our things to make sure that we're investing both our time and our funds. So do you have a system around that? Or is it just kind of like, hey, this is something, how do you decide which ones to attend? Because there's so many opportunities, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first family reunion I attended, I had money from my previous career to pay for that. And I was scared to death to hire a coach. But I went ahead and did it anyways. And I did hire a coach with a little bit of fear. However, I would say that in 3 months or less, I 100% did not regret it, and it far exceeded anything I could. The budget, it exceeded whatever budget I needed. So I never had to struggle with that, I guess, as far as a conference attendee. I think a big part of that is I don't have kids, which are expensive. So I obviously realize if you have kids that you have to budget for that. I do have 37 animals, so I kind of have kids I have to budget for. So I guess I'll take that back. I think the biggest thing is following the model, right? The model's there in the MREA. If you live off of 30%, you're going to have a ton of money to go to that other stuff. Now, I will also say that I break the model. I give more than 10%. I spend more on my people than the models say to spend. And I spend more on coaching than models say to spend. So is there some gray area there? Probably. I probably spend less in some areas and more in others. So it's kind of a guide, right? But your total is 70% for expenses, investments, giving, and your conferences, I guess, your coaching. I've never had the conferences not pay off. Meaning I've never attended a conference and not connected with one person and either sent a referral out or received a referral. So if you attend a conference with 1,000, 5,000, 20,000 people, and you don't connect with one person that you can send a referral to, you're probably doing something wrong. Now, why did I start there? I started there because my referral business did not start with me receiving referrals. I would almost venture to say I probably sent out 50 referrals before I received one.
Wow.
That's crazy. So that's kind of the give first, right? I don't think you can ever go wrong with giving. So how do you do that? Find places you've lived, people you have family, people you have friends, and then find an incredible agent in that area and connect them. Now, some people have only lived in one state, but odds are you probably have family or friends somewhere in that state that you don't live or you don't serve that you could connect with an incredible agent. So I'm a little crazy. I lived in 10 states in 10 years and served in the military and served in corporate America. So I had 10 states that I could go target 10 cities and find 10 incredible agents and then pick 5 of them. And once a week, role played with each of them for 15 to 30 minutes. So that's kind of, if you're new and you're starting out, you don't know what to say, find someone that's doing what you want to do. Find someone that's, in my first year, I want to sell 25 deals. I found somebody doing 25 deals in an area that I knew people, and I role played with him 5 days a week. And then when I felt like I kind of outgrew him or he started missing here and there, then I replaced those days. And then I had 2 referral partners, 2 script and role play partners. until I got to the point where, okay, let's have a different person every day to kind of freshen it up. And you got 5 different relationships you're building, 5 different people you're referring business to, 5 different people you're learning from. So I think if you're not doing that, that's a good way to start, is pick a place where you know people, and then pick 5 incredible agents that are doing the business you want or the business you're already at or more. And just start pouring into them and seeing how they can help you.
Well, if you haven't already realized, Andrew Pepper is the kind of guy you can ask him a 30-second question and he'll give you a 30-minute answer, because he loves people, he loves to share, and he's got a wealth of wisdom and knowledge. And so we actually had more questions on the Facebook chat. We're not going to get into those right now because of Andrew's time that we want to respect. So Andrew, first of all, thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for being who you are. Thanks for being on this chat. Thanks to everyone here on the call. As a reminder, this has been hosted by the KWYP Triangle chapter here in the Raleigh-Durham Metro, where I serve as president. It's my pleasure to host this on behalf of KWYP as a benefit to anyone who's on the call or who watches the recording. So I encourage you to go to YouTube and watch our backlog of interviews from amazing guests. It's KWYP Triangle on YouTube. This one will be posted there shortly as well. And lastly, Andrew, we want to let people know if they want to reach out to you for coaching or inspiration, or if they want to send you a referral, what market do you serve and how can they get a hold of you best?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anybody, any questions I didn't get to, please text them or email or call me. Email is really easy. It's pepper@kw.com. So PEPPER@kw.com. My personal cell phone is 941-400-8227. And then the area that we currently serve right now is basically the Gulf Coast of Florida, in between Tampa and Fort Myers. And we have an incredible agent in Orlando. So basically kind of Tampa to Fort Myers, it's like Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch, Venice are the 3 cities that people kind of know, Siesta Key. So that's kind of the area that we're currently serving, and that'll continue to grow as we bring on more talent. I appreciate you guys. This was awesome.
Andrew, thank you for your
questions.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time. Thank everyone that's here. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next month.
You too. Thank you, guys.